Hi there. Welcome back to the coping skills class. My host, my host, I can't even talk today. We're going to just keep that in because everybody makes mistakes. So my name is Tom DeBray and I'm your host for today. And today we're going to talk about reality versus expectations. And so I saw this interesting quote so I put it into an equation here of is like happiness is expectation or reality divided by expectations. And the meaning behind that is that if our expectations are too great and they exceed reality, then our happiness factor goes down exponentially. Whereas if our expectations are closer to reality, people usually report way more contentment in their life or happiness. So an example would be is say you have a movie franchise that you are absolutely in love with. So it'll be whatever one that is. For example, we'll just use Star Wars because that one's a big one, right? So with Star Wars, if you watch the original three and then you heard that there's going to be a new trilogy and there's like, wow, the original trilogy was so much, it was so good. Like, I can't wait, and this is going to be even more amazing because the special effect, and we build things up. And then if you're watching it, even if it's not good or even if it's amazing, our expectations are so high of that we're often going to find that our satisfaction with that is lower. Whereas if you went into with no expectations of something, some of the best movies I've ever seen were ones where I really didn't have any expectations of it. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be entertaining for a couple hours. And went in, I'm like, wow, that was actually better than I thought it was going to be. And so you enjoy it more. And so what you want to do is you want to kind of keep your reality and your expectations in check with reality. So now sometimes, our reality isn't great and our expectations are higher. And sometimes that'll happen in, say, employment. So you have expectations, and again, expectations aren't necessarily wrong. It's just whether they're accurate to the situation. So sometimes you can have a job where, your expectation is that you're treated fairly and that people are paid appropriately for their skill, and those are good expectations. And if you're in a position where that's not being met, and what is your happiness factor going to be? Well, your happiness factor is probably going to be pretty low. Uh, and that's okay because if you're discontent with that scenario, then there's a couple things. One, you either have to change your expectations. Okay, well, I applied for this job knowing that this was what it was and these are my expectations. So I need to change that because I'm not going to get a raise right away, or my boss might not treat me, the way I want to in the short term. Or do you use that energy to be like, no, you know what? I do think that this is important to me and that these are core values of mine. And I want to be in a place where these things are displayed. And so you can use your expectations to find a reality that's more in suit with your expectations. So sometimes having high expectations isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just whether that applies to the scenario and whether you have control over it. So two ways to increase your happiness factor is to either improve your reality or to lower your expectations to meet the reality that you're in. So I want you to try and take a look at that as part of your assignment this week. Write it down in your book, and I want you to pick something that whether it's a relationship, whether it's work, whether it's something that's happened, I want you to take a look at what are your expectations for that situation and what was the reality, and were your expectations unfairly high, or does your reality need to change in that scenario, or can you change that reality? And if you can't change the reality, what do you need to do with your expectations to be feeling more content in that scenario? This is a very challenging exercise, so don't feel bad if you're feeling like, wow, I'm really struggling with this. It's meant, a lot of these activities are meant to make you struggle a little bit. So try your best and just go into it with no expectations and see how you do with the assignment. So that's the class for today. thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next session.